All right, let's give this another try. I just recorded this whole episode of Faith United Online just to discover my mic wasn't on. Here we go again. And this week we are continuing a series that I started last week here at Faith United that is on the purpose of the church. It is a series I think it's important for the church to hear, to anyone that's in the church to hear about what it means to be the church as we move into this post-pandemic time. So we'll be taking a look at that. I know perhaps everyone that listens isn't necessarily part of a church, but I hope this would encourage you, one, to be so, two, that even as a disciple of Jesus, that this will be instructive because, disciples are to act as the church is to act. And if you're one who has not put their faith in Jesus Christ yet, that as you listen to these messages about the purpose of the church, that you will also come to understand the importance of the church. Especially today, we will hear Jesus talk about the priceless treasure that is the kingdom of God and becoming a part of that kingdom. And the way to do that is through the church. So thank you for joining us today for Faith United Online. Our reading is from Matthew, the 13th chapter. We're going to start at the first verse, and we're going to be reading a number of parables where Jesus, in chapter 13, is trying to communicate to the people what the kingdom of heaven is like. So let's take a look at this. That same day, Jesus went out of his house and sat beside the sea. Such great crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat there while the whole crowd stood on the beach. And he told them many things in parables, saying, "Listen, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seeds fell on the path, and the birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground where they did not have much soil, and they sprang up quickly since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and brought forth grain, some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. Let anyone with ears listen. He put before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to someone who sowed good seed in his field. But while everybody was asleep, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and then went away. So the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared as well. And the slaves of the household came and said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where then did these weeds come from? He answered, An enemy has done this. The slaves said to him, Then do you want us to go and gather them up? But he replied, No, for in gathering the weeds you would uproot the wheat along with them. Let both of them grow together until the harvest, and at the harvest time I will tell the reapers, Collect the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn. He put before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is the greatest of shrubs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour until all of it was leavened. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which someone found and hid, and then in his joy he goes and sells all that he has and buys the field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. On finding one pearl of great value, he went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was thrown into the sea and caught fish of every kind. When it was full, they drew it ashore, sat down, and put the good into baskets, but threw out the bad. What I want to talk about this week is growth. And I want to talk about that as a church, we are certainly to grow. That we are not about being plateaued, certainly not about shrinking, but we have to have the right attitude about growth. And you see, sometimes people embrace growth in the church for the wrong reasons. They embrace it because they want to pay the bills. They want to keep the doors open on the church. They want to make sure that their church is around for years to come. Other times, we can have other reasons for wanting growth. We can want it so that we can be prideful about our church, so we can boast, or perhaps we want to grow because we're envious of another church that we want to be like. But even as there's these wrong reasons to want to grow, we also have to understand that we need to avoid any kind of attitude that would downplay growth. Sometimes we don't want to grow as a church because we're comfortable. We like things the way they are. Maybe we would like a few people to join, but only if they'll join without requiring us to change very much. You see, both of these positions are wrong, and both are a byproduct of starting with a wrong understanding of growth. And now it's something that every church is really susceptible to. When we go through lean times, we're tempted to want people to keep the doors open. When we go through periods of growth, we may feel uncomfortable, like it's not our church anymore, that a good thing has been ruined. And all of it is a byproduct of a misplaced, misguided understanding of growth. It's a result of thinking that the goal of the church is to grow the church. You see, the real goal of the church is to grow the kingdom of heaven. When the goal of the church is to grow the church, when the purpose of the church is to grow the church becomes an institution whose primary function is self-preservation. It makes the growth of the church all about us. The church is about maintaining the health and well-being of our church. And when we think of it that way, we might decide, well, the church has gotten big enough. We might diagnose when the growth has reached the capacity of our ability. We just can't handle anymore. We might be proud when we're growing, or justified when we work to keep the doors open, when it is about keeping our church open, when the growth of the church is about our church. But you see, the church doesn't exist for its own self-preservation. The church exists to grow the kingdom of God. Christ came to proclaim the good news of the kingdom of God. He told his disciples to do the same. Never did he have in mind the formation and preservation of an institution. Jesus came for one purpose: to overcome our sinfulness that causes us to always make everything about ourselves and mend our relationship with God. He came to bring people into the kingdom of God. He came to grow the kingdom, and to do that with a ceaseless passion and a reckless abandon. And his church is to do the same. So let's take a look at our reading from today to see what we learn about the kingdom of heaven, its growth, and therefore what that means for us as a church. In Matthew 13, in verse 3, we're told that he taught them many things in parables. And what follows is a series of stories to describe the kingdom of heaven. Jesus starts out by saying the kingdom of heaven is like a farmer that went out to sow seed. Now, I want you to notice something about this farmer. He threw seed everywhere. He threw his seed on the path. He threw it on the rocks. He threw it in the thorns. He threw it on good soil too. Now, this doesn't seem like a very efficient way to farm. This farmer is messy, undiscerning, indiscriminate, just throwing seed everywhere with the hopes that he'll also get a good crop. And Jesus says, the kingdom of heaven is like that. The next parable is about another farmer. And this time the farmer has sowed his seed just on good soil. But someone has come along and planted weeds throughout his good crop of wheat. And the servants say they're going to pull the weeds. And I mean, that sounds reasonable, right? But the farmer says, no, don't do that. Let the good and the bad grow together. Because when you are pulling the weeds, you might accidentally pull some wheat. Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is like that. Go to these great lengths to ensure that even one person isn't missed, isn't uprooted, when they ought to be part of the church, part of the kingdom of God. There is this messiness that revolves around what it means to be the kingdom of heaven, what it means to be part of a church that is growing the kingdom of heaven. You can't always tell the weeds from the wheat, Jesus says. Well, he also says, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed. Now, you have to understand that the mustard seed, or the mustard plant, was hated by farmers. And yet Jesus is saying, this is what the kingdom of heaven is like. It was a bushy weed that had a way of taking over a field. It was uncontrollable in its growth. It grew so much that it was an annoyance that people usually didn't want around. They wanted to get rid of it. Immediately after Jesus tells this parable, he says, the kingdom is like yeast. Now, as a brewer, I've worked with yeast, and a small amount of yeast goes a long way. And in Jesus' day, it probably would have been some variety of a wild yeast strain. Certainly not something that they had from a lab like we do today when we're brewing. And as such, that yeast could be uncontrollable. It could be overflowing in its productivity. You see, everything Jesus has said about the kingdom of heaven so far indicates that the work of the kingdom is messy and unpredictable, and it often introduces things that may make us feel uncomfortable. But Jesus wasn't done yet. Lest anyone would think that growing the kingdom was an option that we could avoid because we don't want to feel uncomfortable. We don't want messiness in our church. We don't want to deal with those things. Jesus tells some parables that makes it clear that nothing is more important. Nothing is of greater value. He tells them the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure. The kingdom of heaven is like a priceless pearl. And at this point, he is on a roll, and he gives them one last illustration to reiterate his point. He says, the kingdom of heaven is like a net. Have you ever heard the term casting a wide net? That's what Jesus says that he is all about. What the kingdom of heaven is all about. Why? Because of his great love for all humanity. Jesus does not want to miss gathering even one person, one soul into his kingdom. Listen to how Peter explains it. This is from 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter from the New Testament. Peter writes this, the Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. He is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. And you see, the work of Christ's church, the function, the purpose of his church is to fulfill that calling, is to do everything we can to reach every person we can for Christ. No matter how messy that may seem, no matter how uncomfortable that may make us, The purpose of the church is to go and make disciples. The purpose of the church is to grow the kingdom of heaven. And so any growth of the church is rightly understood as a byproduct of the growth of God's kingdom, of making disciples. Now, what does that mean? It means the growth of the church is not your call, not even your concern. Being a part of the church is to live from the starting point of faith in God, faith in Christ. It is to live in a relationship of trust and a relationship of obedience. When faith, whether Faith United grows or not, we live in that relationship of faith and trust. We live committed to the growth of the kingdom of heaven. And we are willing to surrender everything else to see that happen. We are willing to be as messy as we need to be, as uncomfortable as we need to be. We are to cast a broad net and leave the sorting up to God. Now, here's what I absolutely believe. Living this way, understanding our role as the church is a liberating thing. Our job is to just be as messy and indiscriminate with a scattering of the kingdom as we can be, and the rest is up to God. We don't need to be concerned with numbers, with self-preservation, with bragging rights or envy. We just need to get out there and sow and cast and share and proclaim the good news of the kingdom of God. And you know what? When we do that, the kingdom will grow. And when the kingdom grows, yes, our church will grow too, but simply as a byproduct of the growth of the kingdom, because we have become about making disciples. When we go out and scatter that seed, people are going to have their relationship with God restored. The kingdom is going to grow. And that's our work. Casting seed indiscriminately, reaching as many people as we can, the good, the bad, the ugly, and doing it even when it gets uncomfortable, uncontrollable, because there is nothing of greater value that we can give a person than the kingdom of heaven. And there is nothing of greater value to Jesus Christ than each and every person we meet. Hey, thank you for joining us this week, and I hope you're struck with what the kingdom of heaven is all about, and how broad Jesus is with his desire to reach each and every person, and that is because each and every person is the most valuable and important thing to him. That includes you. Hope you heard that message for yourself today. And please take a moment and hit the subscription button and share this message with someone else if you think it would be of value to them. Until next week, God bless. Keep safe.